Good morning and welcome to Beyond the SEAF Model. I'm Jack Kosar. This is effective for the week of December 2nd, 2024. Let's get started. SEAF signals for this week. We got financials, consumer discretionary, and a new entrant, industrials, XLI. Interestingly enough, for the first time that I can remember, we have ones across the board for our top pick, twos across the board for our second signal, and threes across the board for our third signal, ever so closely getting to fours across the board for communication services, but unfortunately a trading week of six blocked the perfecta there for the favored sectors in SEAF. I guess a little bit of a fun tidbit. Overall, we are looking at communication services kind of starting to pick up a little bit of steam, but as we'll show in the heat map, not quite getting there in terms of the accumulation that we're looking to see. Technology continues to bottom out here as we have 11 on the trading week and 11 on the tactical month, only trailing healthcare on the strategic quarter regarding flows. This 11 for healthcare was pretty significant, so it would take quite a bit to drop off on healthcare in order for technology to usurp that, but technology is a deep avoid at a ranking of 32. Heading into our heat map. Heat map is behaving. We have our greens toward the top, for more or less our reds at the bottom. And as I mentioned earlier, communication services, while it is it is a favored ranking overall, we are seeing seeing some kind of positive momentum with the exception of the six here with these fours accumulations, but the accumulation of assets there hasn't been as strong. So while it is green, it is favored. We will need to see a little bit of continued accumulation for it to usurp industrials, which is currently a SEAF signal. Other thing to note, seeing a little bit of life in utilities on the week, on the trading week. This was a 0.08% increase for the weekly numbers, so nothing to write home about, but a little bit of reversal after that kind of stark 9 that we see here in the tactical month. The other kind of key thing to note here is we're not seeing that churn that we were seeing for a good portion of the year. Things have seemingly started to kind of mellow out a little bit. Overall flows were a little bit light. It was a holiday week, which is expected, kind of going back looking at them, though we did have a nice financials at 1 with a 0.5% increase. I repeat this all the time, but 0.4 on average is a strong 1. So at a 0.5, that is nice to see. And we are seeing still some heavy accumulation in financials across all 3 time periods. And that'll show up in a second when we look at the rainbow charts. And here it is, financials. We are seeing a nice relative outperformance trend, kind of breaking new highs regarding its relative performance versus SPY. As you can see here, this is as highly rated as we can go in terms of the SEAF model with a total score of 3, sitting up at the top of this chart. Broadly, just seeing some strength here, and it's really been nice to kind of see that the stickiness in the SEAF model after having a little bit of sped up rotation. So we are seeing some of these things really solidify, and like I said before, financials really accumulating the assets for 3 time periods. Momentum is strong, and that is evidence in the relative performance chart. Industrials, industrials starting to break into that upper favored after kind of sitting in low end favored for our last couple of weeks. So looking for that breakout. It is negotiating and slightly broke out and is retesting a what was previously resistance but is now support on the relative performance chart. So we're kind of negotiating here. We've had a broader uptrend in relative outperformance for industrials going back to the end of June, early July, as we've kind of negotiated this neutral favored for that time period. Ideally getting some more flows. Industrial flows were 0.12 on the trading week, so getting a little bit of stronger flows out of here would be nice to see, and getting that upper favored to really kind of drive this relative outperformance forward. But again, overall broader trend, a little bit of a sideways pattern here, but like I said, ideally we're breaking out on the top side in terms of industrial score in SEAF to really see that driving the relative outperformance on the bottom half. Looking at consumer discretionary, we've been upper favored in consumer discretionary for a couple of weeks now. We are seeing this nice relative outperformance trend that started about mid-October, early November, really kind of driving up through here. We are going to be approaching some resistance into the relative outperformance chart coming up from about a year ago, but we do have a little bit of room to run. Flows have been relatively strong for consumer discretionary, and we are seeing some strong accumulation. If you go back to the heat map, that darker green in the strategic quarter, which is accumulation here, in consumer discretionary. So this one's been nice. We've been sitting in financials and consumer discretionary for a couple weeks now. It's been nice to see that stickiness. I did want to highlight communication services, as it was also favored. We have seen a little bit of relative outperformance as this has come from avoid up through favored and kind of negotiating that favored neutral. We will need to see some sustained flows for this thing to turn into a SEAF signal, but just kind of an interesting spot right now. Positive relative outperformance. So not a SEAF signal, just an area to watch for communication services. If industrial slips at all, or we see some continuation flows into communication services, that would be something to note. Like I said, it is fourth overall. It is favored, just not quite enough juice to get in the top three, but we are keeping an eye on it. And this relative performance part of that chart is looking really nice. And then energy. Energy had a little bit of reversal, and we've kind of seen this in the past. If you can look, around the end of May, we had a similar situation, kind of rocketed up into favored, and then dropped right back down. We did the similar thing in late August, and that's when we talk about this is we're not predicting cash flows. These things need to really accumulate some momentum, and sometimes when we can get up there, we kind of contest into, and as you can see here, we attempted to test this relative outperformance resistance. We tested it and failed and rejected, and now we're headed back down into a void into the overall scores. We need that follow through. We need that momentum and flows. We did not get it for energy, so we were in energy for a hot minute. We pulled right back out. And the nice thing about this model is if money starts to flow into energy again, as we can see here, we had energy, we have that 5 in the middle, so we did have some sustained flows, enough to bring that score up, but a strong reversal in the trading week at a 10. Just not enough momentum behind energy to get that sustained into that upper favor that we like to see, and the relative outperformance chart kind of coincides with that. We had a little bit of a positive trend here, very small, from late October to mid-November, and then a little bit of a fall off as we didn't get the follow through. So moving on. Last, but actually least, technology. Technology's dive continues. Been a little bit of a sideways pattern in terms of its relative outperformance, but we are pointing down and ever so slightly trending down in technology. This is a little unique in the sense that the market has still been going up over the last few days, even I guess a few weeks. With technology not leading. So we're going to keep an eye on technology, but as of right now, deep avoid, relative performance chart not looking great, starting to develop a downward trend. That is all I have for this week. I look forward to breaking down the SEAF model with you all next week, and thank you.